Alright, what's happening, y'all? It's your boy Rico from StreetScores, and now, finally, because there was a lot going on, man. I had a really busy day, and then the whole Percy Butler extension thing and how that could affect Terry McLaurin. I had to do that video. Then it was immediately to the Commanders Kings, and now, starting this recording at 2:20 a.m. We're gonna break down what happened earlier today / technically yesterday, July 24th on Thursday, day 2 of training camp. Of course, I'm gonna show you all of the clips from the practices of all of the different players and position groups. Of course, we gotta break down everything from each position group, and you already know we have some really notable things. First of all, we gotta talk about how Jaden Daniels is somehow getting even better even after the historical rookie season that he put up. I'm gonna tell you why. I'm literally gonna show you examples and everything, how he's literally upgrading from what he even was in 2024. Also, Ja'Cory Brooks is still balling. The undrafted free agent is continuing to make plays. Does he have a chance to beat out Michael Gallup, KJ Osborne, and a few of the other receivers higher than him on the depth chart to make this team? Also, the trenches look elite, and Dan Quinn talked about how that was by design. Also, Von Miller showed extreme confidence in his press conference. His press conference was like 20-some minutes. It was even longer than Dan Quinn, the head coaches. We're going to dive into some of the most important quotes that he brought up, because he brought up some interesting things about how he specifically chose the Commanders after leaving the Bills, because he said something to the extent of, you're not leaving the Bills going to AFC championships over and over again to just go to any team, and he feels like he sees hope in winning a Super Bowl with this team. We're going to dive into all of that and more. Of course, we're going to go position group by position group, so it's quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive line, all the way through the defense. And I have a couple of special teams clips to show you of Tressway doing some punting and things after practice. So we're gonna dive into all of that and more. But before we do, let's go ahead and make sure y'all stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, and stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned to all of the content. Really appreciate y'all for supporting every video, and especially watching all of the videos all the way through, man, to get all of the information and everything. Really appreciate y'all leaving likes, everything. And again, I'm your one-stop shop for everything Commander. So training camp, anytime we sign anybody, any rumors going on, I just haven't had the time, but I want to update y'all on everything that's going on with the stadium, how it's going to be voted on soon. I want to update y'all and show y'all the new locker rooms. I'm pretty sure other people have talked about it, but I want, you know me, we're going to do a deep dive into it. I want to talk about Stephen A. Smith talking about the Ravens and the Commanders need to share a stadium. I have all of this in windows and tabs ready to talk about on my different screens. Just haven't had the time. Things just keep popping up. But we're going to get to all of that, and I've already wasted enough of y'all time. Let's go and dive into this video right now, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, I do want to point out the fact that yesterday, as in Thursday, July 24th, was the last Thursday without football until February. Rejoice, celebrate. Football is back, man. Football is fully back, because we have a Hall of Fame game. July 31st is going to be the first time that any Hall of Fame game football at all has been played in July. They just barely made it by a day. So, hey, man, this season's starting a little bit earlier than normal, and I'm pretty sure it's going to feel way longer. Super excited about the success we're going to have this season. And then, of course, now moving on, before we dive into everything that happened in practice, I have a few updates before we get to the position groups. First of all, we had a few veterans off today. Von Miller, he practiced once with the team since being signed. He had one training camp practice, day 1, on Wednesday, July 23rd. But now he had a vet day off. Laramie Tunsil had a vet day off, and Noah Brown had one as well. But Noah Brown's expected because he is still recovering from an injury. I don't think he's like 100%. I think he's fairly good. He's been participating. He participated a lot yesterday. Well, the first day of practice, Wednesday, July 23rd. But I think they're trying to take it easy with him and, you know, slowly acclimate him, catch him back up to speed, ramp him up and things like that. And of course, you're going to see not only those guys get more vet days off throughout training camp, but others as well. You're going to see Zach Ertz get some days off sometimes, Bobby Wagner. And I mean, first of all, we got 20 games each out of both old Bobby Wagner and old and injury-prone Zach Ertz last year. All 20 games, including the playoffs, straight. Didn't miss a single one at the ages that they are. So trust the process and trust that they have a really good plan and purpose with everything that they do. They give these guys these rest days throughout training camp, throughout the regular season, for a reason. It led to the success that we had last year. I mean, that was one of the healthiest teams I've seen the Burgundy and Gold have in a long time. So I feel like Dan Quinn, whatever Dan Quinn and his medical, physical therapy staff is doing in conjunction, it's working. So just believe in the process, basically. And also, while some of these older veterans are resting and, you know, they take a day off, some of the younger guys behind them get some real meaningful reps. They're moving up the depth chart. We're going to talk about it later, how Josh Connolly started at right tackle today because Laramie Tunsil was out. So Andrew Wiley, instead of starting at right tackle, started at left tackle. We're going to talk about all of that. But even moving on from that, I have an injury update for y'all, and it's a pretty positive one. As you can see right now, Samuel Cosmi walking around, no brace, no limp. I mean, just chilling. And Dan Quinn even clarified his comments for Samuel Cosmi for week 1 because I think it was either before or after the first day of training camp practice. He talked about how Samuel Cosmi, him playing week 1 is not outside of the realm of possibilities. I think he said literally, quote, it's on the table, unquote. So then the next day, the practice that we had Thursday, July 24th, because again, I'm recording this at 2:20 a.m. going into Friday, July 25th. He said it's more about the machinations between Pup and the injured reserve than Cosmi necessarily playing week 1. He expects to have a better idea late August, and there is no rush in that decision, and I love to hear that there's no rush. We are so deep at offensive line, there's no reason to force him back until he's 100%. I don't care if he's 99%. I don't want him on that field till he's a full-blown 100. And also, shouts out to Lake Lewis. He brings up a great point. He said, it sounds real encouraging for Samuel Cosmi's recovery out here. He is in awesome spirits and, more importantly, looks to be in great shape. Dan Quinn even said that he hit all of his recovery markers so far. He could be playing a lot sooner than anticipated. So happy to hear that. And then also, Dan Quinn had a few other interesting things to say while you're looking at clips of Cliff Kingsbury. Dan Quinn said, quote, we want to be a line of scrimmage team first. If you're strong there, we feel you have a chance to be in every fight, unquote. I love that. When my Georgia Bulldogs were winning championships, it was because we were dominant on both the offensive line and the defensive line. The reason that the Eagles were so dominant last year, I mean, we can give some credit to the Georgia Bulldogs there. Actually, I mean, Jalen Hurts and even their GM literally said, Howie Roseman literally said that, but we're not here for that today. The line of scrimmage, they had arguably the best offensive line in football and arguably the best defensive line in football, and you saw how much, I mean, Pat Mahomes didn't stand a chance against those guys. Having dominant lines means on the offensive side of the ball, you can leave 5 guys on the island, and then the other 7 players on the field, I guess you can say 6 excluding the quarterback, can be doing what they have to do to help produce for the team, get open, catch a pass, do whatever you got to do instead of having to stay and chip and block and things like that. But most importantly, on the defensive side of the ball, if you can get consistent pressure only sending 4, you know how easy it is to cover everything when you have 7 guys in coverage. You know, you only have to send 4 guys after the quarterback. That's the type of line of scrimmage we're trying to get on both sides of the ball. That's just how it works, man. I mean, like I've already said, even when the Cowboys were pretty good a few years ago, it was because they had arguably the best offensive line in all of football back then. When they had all of those Pro Bowlers and potential Hall of Famers, they had Zeke Elliott and Dak Prescott going crazy. It was more so the offensive line than anything else. And there's no coincidence that the Eagles are suddenly arguably the most dominant team in football because their trenches are elite as well. And then also shouts out to Skylar Nelson. She pointed out the fact that Dan Quinn said, quote, I love that we scout and pick players for us, not the NFL, unquote. Dan Quinn said this before day 2 practice. It truly speaks volumes about the team's identity and the foundation he and the front office are building. Players clearly are buying into it, and it shows. They don't care what everybody else thinks. We go by what we value in a player, positives, negatives, traits, all of that type of stuff. We stand by that, and we think it's a winning formula. We don't care what the trends are. We don't care what most teams are doing. We have our way of doing things, and like Skylar Nelson said, people are buying into it, and it's showing results. And then shouts out to George Carmi because he retweeted it and mentioned, he said, it's important to have a clear vision for your organization, for any organization or business. When you have that established, you can pick the right people to do hard S-word with, like Dan Quinn loves to say. You know, doing S-word, hard S-word with the right people or something. Like that's like the shirt he was wearing. Then also, George Carmi said, team climate and fit is so important, and Quinn was the right guy for the job. And then also, Dan Quinn said that he made a point to watch the new veterans yesterday, the first day of training camp practice, and watch how they start to fit in. So he's keeping a keen eye on some of the newer guys. I mean, you're a veteran. You've been doing this for a long time in the NFL on different teams, but this is the first time you've been on the Commanders, our Commanders, under Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury on offense, Joe Wood Jr. on defense, and he's just making sure we're good to go. You know what I'm saying? See how they're slowly getting acclimated. Now, we're officially getting into all of the position groups, of course, starting with quarterback. Why not? And that boy Jaden Daniels is different, man. First play of team drill 7-on-7s, Jaden Daniels' first pass is a wide open touchdown to Chris Moore. We're talking 2 days in a row. 2 of 2. We've had 2 days of practice, and the very first pass of the day, each of those 2 days have been touchdown throws. Now, granted, the one from most recent Thursday's day 2 practice, apparently from several people that were there, said that Chris Moore was open. But the one to Deebo Samuel, Tyler Owens had really good coverage, and Jaden Daniels just threw the best pass possible, which showed you just, great offense beats great defense. But either way, so far, through every training camp practice, the first pass that Jaden Daniels has thrown has been a touchdown. And then now also moving on, I mean, it kind of speaks to the fact that when Von Miller held his press conference, and we're going to dive into a lot of his quotes later when we get to the defensive side of the ball, of course. But in his press conference, he said Jaden Daniels is already one of the best quarterbacks in the league already. And I'm pretty sure that played a large role, maybe even the majority of the role, as to why he chose us after leaving the Bills. Again, we're going to talk about this later. I'm going to read you the exact quote and exactly how he worded it. But, just to kind of do a quick summary, basically said, I'm not leaving a team that just went to the AFC Championship over and over again with one of the best quarterbacks. I mean, the quarterback that literally just won MVP of the league last year, just to go to some random team. I purposely picked the Commanders as my next team. So that says a lot about how Von Miller views Jaden Daniels, how the rest of the league honestly views Jaden Daniels, who voted by execs and coaches and everything as the 5th best quarterback in the NFL. And I'm pretty sure the only reason he's behind Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Pat Mahomes is because he's only been doing it for 1 year. But I'm pretty sure 5 years down the road, I think it would be, you could say with confidence, that Jaden Daniels easily has the potential to be the best quarterback in the entire NFL. And then Bucky Brooks dropped some gems. He talked about how Jaden Daniels is a truck while Jalen Hurts is a trailer. I feel like that's the perfect way to break it up, because Bucky Brooks was replying to all of this Cam Newton and Ryan Clark madness. He said, don't know why this take is so controversial. Cam basically broke down the quarterbacks and the trucks, quarterbacks that carry the team, and trailers, teams that carry the quarterback. The guys rated at the top of the list routinely put their teams on their backs. With or without a dominant sporting cast, we've seen Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Jackson, and even Daniels, in parentheses my pick, drag their teams to the winner's circle. That's the difference between the very good quarterbacks and the elites. Doesn't mean that trailer isn't respected or can't win at all, but there are levels to greatness, and that's the point. I completely agree with Bucky Brooks. Shouts out to him. There is a real difference between Jaden Daniels and Jalen Hurts. Jaden Daniels is the truck, Jalen Hurts is the trailer. Make sure y'all keep that in your back pocket when you're talking to Eagles fans. And then also, during practice today, well, again, yesterday, July 24th, they decided to try to throw Jaden Daniels off of his game by blitzing him a lot. They tried to throw something at him that I don't think they warned him ahead of time. I think they just decided today as a defense, we're going to try to throw him off his game, catch him off guard, and some things like that. And it's reported that Jaden Daniels adapted flawlessly and was getting the ball out of his hands even quicker than he did last year. So he's more confident. He's a quicker decision maker than he was even last year. The same guy that had the best rookie season in NFL history is somehow getting even better. And I love the fact that he does even the simple things to near perfection. I mean, the accuracy that he has on just these random bag drills that some quarterbacks probably don't even take seriously. Jaden Daniels takes everything seriously, and that's the mentality that led to him to having the best rookie season in NFL history. But going back to the fact that this guy is somehow going to be even better than he was last year, look at him running with the ball in this clip right here. Shouts out to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold. He brings up a great point too, man. We need that 50-yard plus touchdown run this season. We nearly had it against the Panthers. We nearly had it a couple of times. There was one time where think it was Brian Robinson or Noah Brown or somebody that they just had a better block. Maybe Jaden Daniels runs it all the way to the house. I can't remember. It was one of those games later in the season. I think this is the year where he finally breaks one off for a huge gain, especially since the team around him is going to be so much better. Teams will not be able to focus on stopping just Jaden Daniels by himself as much as they did last year. That's why improving the supporting cast around him is so important. I think he's going to blow up, man. I think he's going to have those crazy runs. I think he's going to be a better passer. People are talking about sophomore slump. How about the fact that Jaden Daniels is more likely to get better going into this season than he is to be worse? That's scary. Now moving on to the running backs. First of all, let's just go ahead and talk about this right now. Washington Commanders running back Kazmir Allen, remember he transitioned from wide receiver to running back. He's now wearing number 22 because he was wearing number 24. Then you had Von Miller pull up, take that number 24, and now he's wearing number 22, and he's sharing that number with Carlin Vigors. He was already sharing that number with Fintrell Cypress. I don't know what Fintrell Cypress is doing with his number 24. Maybe he's still wearing it. Highly doubt it. I don't know. I don't know what number he switched to, but I know Carlin Vigors and Kazmir Allen are both now wearing number 22. Just to go ahead and give you a random update. Y'all know me, man. I don't care if it's like the random guy that has no chance of making the roster or the superstar on the team. We're going to talk about everything, every player, every position group. That's just how this goes. And then now, as you can see in this clip right here, that boy Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt look good, man. That boy look good slicing and dicing through the defense, man. Now, of course, we're at the point of practice where you can't necessarily touch him. So maybe that's not actually a touchdown in a real play, but I still just love to see Ja'Cory moving, man. I'm telling you, that agility, that explosion, he has some athleticism, quickness, all of that type of stuff that nobody else in this running back room has. Nobody. And I feel like Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt already showing some serious promise is one of the main reasons why when we signed Von Miller, instead of cutting another edge rusher to make room for Von Miller on the roster, we cut a running back in Michael Wiley. So I think Ja'Cory may be a little bit more ahead of his development than people probably thought. And then shouts out to Grant Paulson. He said, Commanders running back Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt having a miniature schnauzer is a hilarious dog breed to me. Love my conversation with him. Personal guy. I just wanted to just tell y'all that because it just shows that he has a real personality. Every time you see him in an interview, he's smiling. He seems so happy and just thankful to be where he is, but also extremely motivated to prove everybody wrong as to the fact that he ended up being a 7th round pick when he was easily a top 3 round talent. Like, honestly, if he would have stayed in college one more year, I wouldn't have blinked if he ended up getting drafted in the 1st round. He has that much talent. To get a guy like that in the 7th round, I'm telling y'all right now, watch out. Ja'Cory means business. Now moving on to the wide receiver. Starting with Deebo Samuel. He had an interview with Natalie Spalla. I believe this was after practice probably. And Deebo Samuel laughed at the offseason narratives that claimed that he has lost his speed and that he's fat and everything. He said, quote, "You know, people gotta have something to talk about. I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of," unquote. And I love that. Like, he hears the noise. He's fully aware that people are talking and all of this stuff is going viral about him looking big and T.O. saying he's one sandwich away and all of this type of stuff. I love the fact that he hears it, like he's aware, but he does not care at all. And he's ready to walk it instead of talking. Instead of replying back and getting on the internet and saying, "No, I'm not fat, look at me," and stuff like that, he's just going to prove it onto the field. When he goes out there and has a season identical to his 2021 season, and he's one of the main reasons we ended up winning the Super Bowl, then he's going to be able to look back and laugh at everybody. And I love, that's the perfect revenge, to show him rather than tell him. I love that. So Deebo Samuel, keep up that exact mentality. I love all of it. And then also, you have this clip right here, uploaded by Ethan Cadeau, of Deebo grabbing a nice catch, making a nice catch during some red zone work with Jaden Daniels. And I just love how he's able to catch an over-the-shoulder ball like that so easily, so smooth, because that's really hard, man. I don't think people have ever just tried, get somebody a football and tell them to throw you the ball, but instead of looking at them while they throw it, you have their back to them, and you have to be able to track it and catch it immediately. And then imagine if the person throwing the ball has a way stronger arm to the level of an NFL quarterback, not just some random friend or cousin that you asked to do it. I'm telling you, that is a really refined skill that he's working on right there that I don't even remember him necessarily having when he was with the 49ers. And then also you have Deebo Samuel getting some one-on-one time with Bobby Ingram, the wide receivers coach. And this is some time when it seems like everybody else is kind of relaxing or chilling. Deebo Samuel's like, "Nah, I'm trying to improve my route running right now." And I love that, man. That work ethic is amazing, man. Even while other people are resting and chilling, he's like, no, I'm still trying to improve. And it's probably that motivation from people saying that he looks slower, that he looks fat, he's falling off, he's never going to be his 2021 49er self again. He's probably hearing a lot of that and just using that as fuel to get better. And so while other people are chilling, he's like, that's a moment for me to get even further ahead, or to catch up even better, whatever. While people are stagnant, I'm going to keep moving. I love that from Deebo Samuel. Keep working, man. Especially with Terry McLaurin not out there. You're wide receiver 1, so set the example. You work harder, you do extra work overtime before or after practice. It's only right for a guy that is further down the depth chart to want to follow suit and have to try to outpace you. And now that guy's working even harder trying to keep up or surpass you. So I love that. Just keep that going. It's like a good virus, man. It's going to spread. And then, man, this guy, Ja'Cory Brooks, man, he had another touchdown today, and Jaden Daniels was his quarterback again. He had 2 the first day of training camp. Back on Wednesday, July 23rd. He had 2 touchdown catches. I think one was from Jaden Daniels, one was from Marcus Mariota, I believe. But I know for a fact at least one of them was from Jaden Daniels the first day. And then the second day, he had another one from Jaden Daniels. So he's out there with the starters catching passes from Jaden Daniels going against the starting defense. And he's making sure he gets at least 1 touchdown a day so far through training camp. That's scary business when it's an undrafted free agent like that, man. He's trying to show people, I don't care if I'm an undrafted free agent being added to a team that just went to an NFC championship and got way better in the offseason by trading for veterans and signing a bunch of them as well. I don't care. That sounds like a very unlikely scenario for an undrafted free agent to make a final 53-man roster. And Ja'Cory Brooks is like, I don't care. I'm going to make plays, especially while Terry McLaurin's not here. I'm going to be the guy that stands out, man. And I love it. I love it. They're looking for somebody to step up, and he decided it's gonna be him. That's 3 touchdowns in 2 days of training camp, man. I love it. We're not even to the point where we're in pads, where we're practicing long. These are relatively short practices. He's still leaving an impact. Then shouts out to Bleeding Burgundy and Gold over there. He brought up a great point. He said he's not surprised to see Ja'Cory Brooks standing out early. He has all of the natural receiving nuances down, just so happened to test like a D3 tight end at the I agree. I mean, literally, the testing was atrocious. That's the only reason he went undrafted. Honestly, we're lucky that he tested horribly, because he's a way better receiver than any just typical undrafted free agent is. I mean, if he would have went in like the 5th or 6th round, people would have honestly not have questioned it, literally just for the terrible testing. But as far as what he does on a field with the helmets and pads on, that guy is a serious receiver talent. Very serious. Remember, he was a 5-star recruit heading to Alabama, and he was pretty impactful and deadly and very talented at Alabama. Then he transferred to Louisville and then balled out there and got that Tyler Shuck, whatever his name, quarterback, got him drafted to the Saints in like the 2nd round because Ja'Cory Brooks was so good. And so I'm not surprised either. Literally, we're lucky. The only reason he went undrafted, he was even available for us to get him, was because he tested so poorly. So really, that's really like a blessing to us, because we were going to take Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in the 7th round. So if somebody else would have taken him in the 7th round, we would have had no chance to get him. So it's great that the fact that we still got Cameron Drawn on the 6th, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt in the 7th, and somehow got Ja'Cory Brooks in the 7th, when, again, if he would have went in maybe even as high as the 5th round, people would have been like, okay, that makes sense. The testing was horrible, but the tape is clearly there. He's a really good receiver. And also, shouts out to Tan Todd Podcast. They bring up a good point as well. They said he plays receiver so naturally. He just tested horribly and had an underwhelming college career after being highly recruited. And that's mostly to the fault of the quarterbacks and the offensive coordinators that he was under. We need to see if his play speed is faster than his testing speeds. The natural skills are clearly there, though. I completely agree, man. And shouts out to Rio Robinson. He brought up a great point. He said Ja'Cory Brooks could be everything fans wanted in Cam Sims. That's a great point. He said emphasis could, but and then he also encouraged them to be great and earn your spot. I think that's a fairly good comp. Like, hey, Ja'Cory Brooks could end up being everything that we hoped Cam Sims would be. Like the Cam Sims that we were excited about and thought he could end up being a really impactful player in the NFL. Ja'Cory Brooks has the potential to be a better version of the Cam Sims that we ended up getting, the one that we hoped we'd get. And then shouts out to Zach Selby. He pointed out the fact that Ja'Cory Brooks has been an early standout so far in camp. He's taken a neutral approach to things as he tries to earn a roster spot. I like this quote that he has right here. He said, I just want to take it one day at a time. Stack days and stack plays. I ain't getting too overhyped or underhyped, just staying neutral with it. And Brooks basically would rather focus on where he needs to improve. He spent the summer working on his routes and creating separation. That dedication has carried over into camp, which is what he was doing with Marcus Mariota and Josh Johnson after Thursday's practice, as you're seeing on the screen with the clips that I'm showing you. After practice ended, this is Ja'Cory Brooks, even after having 2 great days of camps, exceeding a lot of expectations from himself, still going after practice, walking up to Marcus Mariota and asking Josh Johnson, can you help me work on some things, and still trying to improve. He's not just living in the moment. He's balling out in training camp, but he's like, that's not enough. I'm not satisfied with that. I want to continue to progress and keep getting better so I can continue to stand out. I love the mentality that Ja'Cory Brooks has right now. And then also moving on, here's a quick clip from Skylar Nelson showing Jalen Lane, and shouts out to Real Robinson. He brings up a great point. He said 4.3 speed players that actually play and look like 4.3 players when they're running around with pads and helmets. I mean, Jalen Lane is one of the very few. Some guys out there happen to test really well, like Matthew Golden. He's nowhere near as fast on film, on tape, on the actual field with helmet and pads on as he tested. Jalen Lane is, though, and it looks like it in clips that you see of him. And then also, before we move on from the wide receivers, don't forget about that boy Luke McCaffrey now. You know what I'm saying? While we're looking at this compilation of him running around, we haven't heard a lot of things from him. It's not like he's standing out like he did in mandatory minicamp. Remember, mandatory minicamp, he was balling. I mean, it was touchdown after touchdown to the point that even the Commanders' official Twitter account uploaded one of the touchdowns, man. I mean, he was one of the biggest standouts and one of the biggest winners from mandatory minicamp. I haven't heard much so far in these first 2 days of training camp, but maybe he's just being overshadowed by other guys playing really well. I'm not saying that Luke McCaffrey's playing poorly, but I just haven't heard much about him. That he's one of the guys we haven't heard much about. I'm hoping he takes that next step going from a rookie to a sophomore. You got to remember, this guy's barely played the receiver position. He just switched to wide receiver like his last year or two before leaving college. He went to college as a quarterback. This receiver stuff is still new to him. And remember, when I did the relative athletic scores together, but comparing him to Christian McCaffrey, his brother, and that's a measure of the athleticism. When they were both wide receivers, Luke McCaffrey had the higher score. He was the more athletic player. And even when I made it as fair as possible and took it to Christian McCaffrey's home court and made them both running backs with their raw athletic testing scores, Luke McCaffrey still had the higher number and was more athletic. So it's just like, man, if we could just get him to understand the nuances of the receiver position, improve the route running, separation, angles, leverage, all of that type of stuff, he could be serious because he's a very athletic player. He's like a 9 point something in the relative athletic score. So watch out, man. And then Skylar Nelson did report that apparently Luke McCaffrey did catch a touchdown pass from Jaden Daniels in the second day of practice. So, hey, man, he's making plays. I haven't really heard anybody talk about him except for Skylar Nelson. I'm not exactly sure why, but Luke McCaffrey did have a touchdown in day 2 of training camp, Thursday, July 24th. Now, moving on to the tight ends, you're looking at a clip of Zach Ertz doing some drills, but the update comes from Zach Selby, and it's about Tyree Jackson, who's a pretty far stretch from making the roster, but who knows, man. Athletic freak, a guy that was a quarterback all throughout college, got to the NFL, made the transition to tight end. Athletic freak, a 9 point something athleticism, but it's all of the nuances again. And Zach Selby said, it seems like the tight end room is mostly set. Of course, you have John Bates and Zach Ertz and Ben Sinnott, and then they even like Colson Yonkov a lot. But players are still making a case to be on the initial 53-man roster. One such example is Tyree Jackson, who used all of his 6'7" frame to reach out and make a sideline catch during 7-on-7 drills. While the main tight end trio of Zach Ertz, John Bates, and Ben Sinnott all tower at 6'4" and above, Jackson has a unique frame that is rare to find at any position. He even stands out amongst those guys. He still faces a long way to making the roster, but perhaps the Commanders will keep him on the practice squad as a long-term project because this guy has athleticism you can't teach. He has movement skills, burst, explosion, quickness, speed, and the height especially that you cannot teach. It's all about learning the nuances. I'm not expecting him to make the roster or have any impact on this 2025 season, but maybe later on down the line, 2026, 2027, he becomes the next Darren Waller. Who knows? Remember, Darren Waller was considered very raw when he first got to the NFL, and then it worked out very well for him. Maybe so. It's very rare. Very rare does it happen, but you just never know. Now moving on to the offensive line. And he was talking about the overall roster, but especially the offensive line specifically when he said this. He mentioned in his daily press conference before practice, the second day of practice, Thursday, July 24th, that people shouldn't look too much into the different personnel matchups, especially on the offensive line. It's something that fans need to be reminded of too, because multiple players will work with the starters to compete and find the best lineup. A good example of this is when Josh Connolly, who started at right tackle with Tunsil, taking the Veterans Day off. today or yesterday at practice. Doesn't mean that Connolly is destined to take the spot for himself, but it gives himself reps against the Commanders' starting defensive line and pass rushers, which is very meaningful reps, which goes back to my point about Laramie Tunsil taking a vet day off. That's huge for Josh Connolly to finally match up against guys like Von Miller, Dietrich Wise, and Dorrance Armstrong more often, rather than going against guys like Javonte John Baptiste and Jacob Martin. You know what I'm saying? Those things matter. Again, it's crazy though, because Trey Amos has started since day one. So maybe he's different. Trey Amos is the only rookie that's literally starting on the offense or the defensive side of the ball immediately day one. Remember last year, Jaden Daniels had to earn his starting spot over Marcus Mariota. Josh Connolly's going through the same thing with Andrew Wiley right now. Jalen Lane's working through it with the receiver position. I'm assuming he's already a starting punt returner right now, but on the offensive side of the ball, he's not a starter yet. Trey Amos is the only draft pick that's starting right now. And of course, y'all already know I'm rooting heavily for Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt to become our lead back sooner rather than later. Right now, Trey Amos is our only starter. And so I do want to remind y'all that Laramie Tunsil did not practice today, so Andrew Wiley went from your starting right tackle to replacing Laramie Tunsil as your starting left tackle, and then Josh Connolly moved up from second string right tackle to starting right tackle. But that's how you can tell that Connolly will be starting soon, because if Connolly was seen as a backup, they would just move him around when there's an absence, not Wiley, because Connolly has only played right tackle so far through these first 2 days of training camp. They clearly want him to develop specifically at right tackle as soon as possible. They view him as a future starter there. Whereas Wiley, I mean, he may even be competing for the starting right guard spot until Cosme gets back, because that's his more natural position anyway. But at the same time, though, out of all of the backup offensive linemen we have, Andrew Wiley is our best tackle. So he's definitely your best swing tackle that we have available. They can play left or right tackle if there's an injury. So he's just going to stay as our backup tackle behind Josh Connolly eventually. But my point is, if they weren't projecting or at least trying to get Josh Connolly to become their starting right tackle as soon as possible, when Laramie Tunsil, the left tackle, is not here, why wouldn't they just keep Andrew Wiley? If you're thinking of Andrew Wiley as a starting right tackle going into this regular season, you would keep him at right tackle. But they're just, hey, Andrew Wiley, hey man, there's an absence, we're going to move you around. If anybody's not here, somebody's hurt or whatever, you're going to be the one moving around. Even if you're with the starters, it's not permanent. And so Josh Connolly will start sooner rather than later. I thought that immediately once I heard that they had him at right tackle and made Andrew Wiley basically get up out of his seat. And then Nick Allegretti also took some snaps with the quarterbacks during warm-up, so he'll work as a guard as well as learning how to be a better center this summer. So that's a lot of versatility, cross-training going on in the offensive line. We are going to be so versatile and have so much depth. We have so many startable backups. It's insane. And then lastly, before we move on from the offensive line, moving to the defensive side of the ball, starting with the defensive line, shouts out to Mitch Tisler for this one. He uploaded this clip and said an underrated part of all of the offensive continuity talk with the Commanders is Tyler Biadasz and having a second year with Jaden Daniels. I completely agree, because when they're looking at defenses and trying to diagnose who's potentially blitzing, what are the linebackers doing, what are the DBs doing, do we need to change protection, slide the offensive line a certain way, that chemistry that Tyler Biadasz and Jaden Daniels are growing on is only going to make them better and more efficient and keep Jaden Daniels even cleaner and safer. Now moving on to the defensive side of the ball, and while I'm talking, you'll just see a series of clips, just random clips of the defensive linemen going through drills, and they're going through some really interesting drills. Like they have this one drill where they have to like get past a person, and then one of the coaches just randomly gives them a scenario, and they have to adapt to that scenario right then and there immediately and do whatever pass rush move or whatever they got to do to get to where they got to be as quickly as possible. I love that. Like they're putting them in pressure, unpredictable situations, so by the time we get to the actual real games, it will be like nothing to them. It'll be second nature. Also, I want to point out the fact that D-Line's coach Daryl Tapp, that came over from the 49ers with Adam Peters, is the energy of the defensive line room. And he probably has the most energy and is the loudest of any of the coaches on the entire team. And you can see in these clips while you're watching them that the defensive line feeds off of it. They're probably one of the most hype, energetic, physical groups of people on the entire team. And this is a very physical team. When we get to the linebackers, I'm going to explain it. Shouts out to Seawall Sports. She had this one interesting quote and tweet that she put out there where it's like, what is going on? Do these guys not know it's only day 2 of training camp? Why does it feel like we have a game tomorrow with how intense everybody's being on both sides of the ball? And even from that, the overall team being very physical and intense, even more than they were at this point last year, the D-line stands out from even a very intense overall team. Now moving on to Von Miller. And shouts out to Grant Paulson. He was there, of course, and he said that Von Miller just conducted one of the best introductory press conferences I've ever heard, and I've been to a lot of good ones. And I agree. I mean, I've never been the one up close, but all of the ones that we've seen live stream, the YouTube and Twitter, or I've gone back to watch later on because I was busy, whatever. Von Miller had one of the best press conferences I've ever seen in a burgundy and gold uniform, man. And even the fact that, like, nobody asked him a question when the press conference first started. So he just kicked off the whole thing by explaining how he landed in Washington and how he missed the grind while he was at home the past 4 months, couldn't wait to get back to football, all of that type of stuff. But, like, they didn't even get a chance to ask him a question. He sat down, got to the mic, and was like, all right, let's get busy. Let's keep talking. And he said, now getting to what I was alluding to earlier and foreshadowing way earlier in the video, Von Miller said that signing with the Commanders was, quote, intentional, unquote. The whole quote was, it was extremely intentional coming here. You can't just leave Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen and go anywhere, man. You just can't go from the AFC Championship and just go anywhere. And whenever you get older, too, losses, they pile up. It seems like they just hit way harder than what they used to when you were young. And this team is all about winning. I'm all about winning. Whatever it takes to win, I'm going to do. That's on and off of the football field, unquote. And so, again, if he feels that way about the Commanders, if that's who he is as a person, he feels like the Commanders share the exact same vision for him, I'm telling you, the way people view this team from the outside, I feel like other teams' fan bases are higher on the Commanders than even a lot of our pessimistic fans are within the fan base. Of course, you have certain fan bases like the Eagles and Lions and Bears that hate on us beyond reason, even though we don't really even acknowledge them. They're just hating from the outside. I don't know what's going on. But most people actually look at our team, especially the people that matter, even ignoring fans. How about players on other teams? They're looking at the Commanders like, hey, wait a minute. They're probably a strong Super Bowl contender this year. And Von Miller was like, yeah, I'm trying to jump aboard this ship before it takes off and it's too late. And then also, Von Miller talked about Dan Quinn. He said he feels like he's known Dan Quinn for so long. He said that he's a player's coach. All of the rumors about him are true. And he's a great coach, unquote. And basically, so from all of the great words and examples and stories he's heard about Dan Quinn from his time around the league and everything like that, by the time he even got to meet Dan Quinn and he joined the Commanders, now Dan Quinn is his head coach, he feels like he already knows him because he's heard so many great things about him over and over again over the past few years. And then also, Von Miller dropped the bomb. He said the Washington Commanders called him a month and a half ago and started talking, and then they signed and agreed to come here to Washington about a week and a day ago, and here I am. That's so interesting because a month and a half ago, and we heard nothing of it, not one leak. I mean, if there's one thing that Adam Peters, Dan Quinn, and this organization is doing, arguably the best in the NFL, is no leaks. The Laramie Tunsil trade came out of nowhere. Even last year, we didn't know we signed Michael Davis, who had a chance to potentially be one of our starting corners, until he had an introductory press conference. We were looking like, who is this guy? He started talking like, yeah, I'm on the Commanders. Like, what? No reporter, no John Com leak, not even Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, Tom Pillett, none of them get any of this news early. We find out when everybody else finds out. It is crazy. Von Miller, again, we didn't know until Von Miller posted it on his Instagram. There are no leaks in this organization, and I love it. Shouts out to Josh Taylor, recently joined in A to Z Sports. He wrote an article talking about how we're not for everybody. Head coach Dan Quinn confirms how latest free agency signing was the perfect move to make the Washington Commanders. And he's talking about Von Miller. And the reason I'm bringing this up because Miller fits the Commanders' culture. Dan Quinn said, quote, we're not for everybody. But for the guys that, man, love ball, love competing, this is the type of environment that you could really thrive in. It was just fun to talk pass rush with him, honestly. We talked about a lot, the summit that you know he's been a part of for a long time, other players and their ability to share, and veterans, all of that type of stuff. Remember, Von Miller is the one that literally leads, he founded a pass rush summit. He's the one teaching a lot of other people the nuances of pass rushing. So imagine with him being on this team, how valuable he's going to be as basically an on-the-field coach that actually goes out there and produces. I think he has a chance to maybe even get double-digit sacks this year. That's how high I am on him, especially after this confident press conference that he had. But he's going to be like an on-the-field coach mentor, just like how Bobby Wagner is for the linebackers, especially the younger guys like Jordan McGee. Terry McLaurin, when he finally comes back, he'll be that guy. For the younger guys as well around him, you have Austin Eckler in that running back room. You have Zach Ertz in the tight end room. Now you have Von Miller in the edge rusher room, along with Dietrich Wise. Don't sleep on Dietrich Wise's mentorship and how that's going to be huge for like Javon Kinlaw and even Johnny Newton, all of the younger guys that we're hoping take a step forward. And then Miller also has shown recently that he can still produce on the field, and that comes with hard work in the offseason and still being obsessed with the sport at this point of his career. You just can't fake it on the field at 36 years old. I agree. Quinn also made a point to mention that General Manager Adam Peters gives the coaching staff the ability to scout players and be involved in the discussions of what players best fit the team. The tape spoke for itself when they watched that Miller still had in the tank, and he's joining Washington to do the same thing that he did for the Buffalo Bills last year. And again, if you want those advanced stats, I gave those to y'all when I announced and did a full breakdown after watching the film, and I even show y'all some all 22 clips in my breakdown of Von Miller. I gave you the stats. He was arguably, efficiency-wise, on a per-snap basis, one of the best pass rushers in the entire NFL last year, even at 35 years old, so don't sleep. Von Miller also talked about what he brings to the Commanders. He said, quote, "I can still roll out of bed, 36 years old with my house shoes on and rush the passer," unquote. I love that confidence, and he's dead serious about that. And even better, Seawall Sports quote tweeted that and said, "I know what I saw yesterday, and I believe him." So Von Miller apparently looked really good at the first day of training camp practice. Again, he had day 2 training camp practice off, so we didn't get to see him anymore. And then Ben Standig asked Von Miller how he's remained an effective pass rusher despite fewer snaps, being on the field less often. That comes with age. And then he said that basically Kobe Bryant was the inspiration behind that, and basically gave a Kobe Bryant quote saying, quote, "When I get in the game, I have to shoot a 3 right now. I'm not passing the ball, none of that," unquote. So he's using a Kobe mentality. And again, he chose number 24 because of Kobe Bryant partially. He actually talked about that. Remember, he wore 20. He's wearing 24 now. He wore 58 and 40 on other teams, but those were taken. And he basically talked about how he's not that guy to take just someone's number from him, especially an impactful player. He said if 24 spoke to him. He said Trent Bailey wore it, and then also Kobe Bryant, who's one of his biggest inspirations. Again, he just gave you a Kobe Bryant quote to explain how he's doing what he's doing. Also, he said he loves DC already. He said the food is amazing. He shouted out Korean barbecue and the steakhouses. He said, quote, "They got everything. The food was good in Buffalo, but the options were a little limited. Here, they got everything," unquote. So Von Miller's in heaven right now. Better team. Well, I mean, not going to definitively say that the Commanders are a better team than the Bills, but I feel like personally, if we were to go head-to-head with the Bills and the Super Bowl or something, I feel like we would win. I love our chances. I love our quarterback that much. I love our team that much. But also, Von Miller loves the city as well. I mean, remember, Marshawn Lynch did everything he could to get out of Buffalo, so I'm pretty sure Von Miller was like, "Yeah, I'm up out of here, man. I'm gone. Like, let me go join another team that is a Super Bowl contender, but they're in a better city, I guess. I don't know." Then also, as you can see on the screen right now, this is 91 coaching another 91. Ryan Kerrigan, who used to wear 91 for this team, is coaching up the new number 91, Dietrich Wise, who came over from the Patriots. And I love the fact that they're just doing some one-on-one stuff beyond what's required at practice. Again, another example of people working and doing extracurricular things that they're not being asked to do. Also, as you can see in this clip right here, in this picture, Von Miller is not playing with this dummy, but I wanted to bring it up because Mark Tyler brought up a funny point. He said it looks like Von Miller was destroying Trey Apke. Remember, Trey Apke used to wear number 30 when he was here, so I thought that was pretty funny, and I wanted to include that. Now, moving on again. Right here is Daron Payne going through some drills, and Scott Abraham predicted, hot take, Daron Payne will have the best season of his NFL career this year. It's time for the big fella to dominate, and if there's ever a time to do it, it's now. With all of the edge rusher talent around you, all of the defensive tackle talent around you, you will not be the focal point of what a opposing offense focuses on stopping. So he'll be able to eat. He'll be dealing with one-on-ones a lot. I'm hoping Eddie Goldman not only doesn't retire, but can contribute meaningful snaps throughout the regular and postseason, because he's going to be a true nose tackle that we did not have last year ever since we traded away John Ridgeway to the Saints. We needed a guy that can eat up double teams and stop the run and allow Johnny Newton, Daron Payne, and all of those other guys, and new addition, Javon Kinlaw, Dietrich Wise, Von Miller, to see more one-on-ones. They're not going to be double teamed as much because that's Eddie Goldman's job. Now, also, you have this clip right here. Speaking of Javon Kinlaw, I mean, first of all, it's very noticeable how big he is, and then the ball get off, the explosion when he gets off the ball to attack the dummy. I mean, Lord have mercy, man. That boy is different, man. So I'm super excited about what this defensive line is going to provide. I think it's going to be a huge improvement from last year, especially with Von Miller on it. And then lastly, before we move on from the defensive line to the linebackers, here you have Daron Payne and Johnny Newton getting some work in. And JP Finley said here in this clip that he uploaded that it's more so like run fits and leverage work. So it's not just about getting to the quarterback. We're trying to make sure we can stop the run as well. And I love how nuanced that is. We're talking run fits, which one you're responsible for. Don't allow the running back or whoever is the ball carrier to get through your responsibility. And they're working on that, where they're working on leverage. Leverage is very important. You can be as strong and as athletic as you want, but if you're not good with the nuanced things like leverage and run fit and IQ and awareness, all of that stuff matters, man. These are not just meatheads that don't know how to think. You know, a lot of this stuff is nuance, intelligence, IQ, awareness, and quick processing. I love the fact that we're already working on stuff like that as early as day 2 of training camp. Probably even started it earlier than that, but that's like a visual evidence that I can give you of them doing it right now. Now moving on to the linebackers, and starting off with the linebackers, going back to Von Miller's press conference, he talked about Bobby Wagner. He said, quote, "He's stolen a lot of first-team All-Pro votes from me, man. Still one of the best open field tacklers in the NFL. He's able to lead guys in so many different positions. He's a great leader," unquote. I love the mutual respect that they have for each other. Because when Bobby Wagner spoke to the media after the first day of training camp practice, he had very high praise for Von Miller as well. He talked about how Ken Norton Jr., his defensive coordinator for the Seahawks when he was there, but now the linebackers coach for the Commanders, they're together again in the burgundy and gold. Talked about how back when they were on the Seahawks together, Ken Norton Jr. would constantly bring up Von Miller film and make them watch it over and over again, specifically to look at Von Miller's elite ball get off. Again, go look at the Von Miller breakdown. But Von Miller, I showed y'all the stats in that video. I'm not going to show it here, but just to remind y'all, he had the quickest ball get off out of any edge rusher in the entire NFL last year. And so that's one of the main things that Bobby Wagner was happy about. The fact that now he has that on his side, on his team, and they're working together. And then again, Von Miller, the very next day after the second day of practice, just as complimentary to Bobby Wagner. And I love it, man. Mutual respect of 2 first ballot Hall of Famers. Love it. And then as you can see in this clip right now, Frankie Louvu, it's just him walking out the practice, right? But something I foreshadowed earlier. Seawall Sports tweeted, "Frankie Louvu is making my blood pressure go up, and this defensive line acting like they got a game on Sunday. What am I watching exactly? Clearly, I'm the only one out here that's thinking that this is only day 2 of training camp," which shows me that this is a very intense team right now, very physical. They're getting after it. They're not waiting until we get the pads on. They're not waiting until we get to the regular season. They're not waiting until we get to the postseason. None of that. They are right now, day 2 of training camp, already with the intensity all the way up. And if anything, Dan Quinn is going to have to tell them to tone it down rather than pick it up, and I prefer that any day of the week. And also, I want to add to the fact that multiple sources and people that have been going to the practice have all been saying the same thing. This team is way more physical and intense and serious about what they're doing than they even were this time last year before they went on to win 14 games. So do with that information as you will. Now, moving on to the cornerbacks. First of all, shouts out to Zach Selby. He pointed out the fact that Tre'Davious Amos, had a nice pass breakup in the end zone while working against Luke McCaffrey. So Luke McCaffrey had a touchdown against somebody, not against Tre'Davious Amos, shut down corner. Amos continues to be in the starting lineup and held his own against Washington's starting wide receivers. Of course, Terry McLaurin's not there, but everybody else is. He'll need to keep that progress going throughout camp, but it's been a good start for the rookie. You love to hear that. And then also, as you can see in this clip right here, Scott Abraham is showing Trey Amos going through some drills, and he said, "I like what I see from Commanders rookie cornerback Tre'Davious Amos. Explosive, quick twitch, long ball skills, very encouraged." Basically, he's like, this guy has every trait that you need to be an elite corner. It's just time to put it all together and learn the game, nuance and stuff like that. That's going to be a consistent thing that I bring up throughout this training camp, that we have a lot of guys that have all of the traits, athleticism, and just the God-given, just born with this natural gift that you can possibly have. We got all of that covered all through up and down this roster. A lot of it is just learning the nuance, the IQ, the awareness, and you know, just, you know, you got to go through more reps and more coaching to get better at those certain things. So with time, they will get better. Now moving on, Scott Abraham posted this clip of Marshawn Lattimore going through some drills, and he said that a healthy Marshawn Lattimore is what the Commanders want to see all season long. He will be an important piece for the Washington defense. And like I said, when breaking down the first training camp day of practice, that I agree with Bleeding Burgundy and Gold when he said Marshawn Lattimore is the pendulum of this entire team. If Marshawn Lattimore is bad, this defense is going to suffer from it, and the overall team is going to suffer. But if Marshawn Lattimore gets anywhere near close back to his Pro Bowl self from his time in the Saints, this team is going to be elite on defense, which means they're going to be elite all around, and they're going to be strong Super Bowl contenders, and a lot of it is going to have to deal with whether Marshawn Lattimore is good or not. And I believe I'm very confident in the fact that he will be really good, at the very least way better than what he was last year when he was really hurt and had no business playing. Again, he even admitted it back in mandatory minicamps just a few weeks ago that I was not supposed to be on that field, but I just feel like Adam Peters used up all this draft capital to get me, and I wanted to prove him right, even though I had no business health-wise being on that field. And now he's 100% fully healthy. It's about to get spooky. And I mean, AJ Brown did him dirty last year, but at the same time, Lattimore in 7-on-7s had back-to-back pass breakups, and then after that, he had an interception on a deep ball, and then he ran on the sideline hollering, "AJ Brown, don't run, boy." So he's hyped. He has his eyes zoned in on, he can't wait to go against AJ Brown, man. And just to let you know, just to remind y'all, you know what I'm saying, we don't play the Eagles for the first time until December 20th. The third to last game of the season. Then we played them again after we played the Cowboys on Christmas, January 4th, the last game of the season. So it's going to be a while before Marshawn Lattimore gets to face A.J. Brown again, but he is laser focused on getting his revenge against that guy. He's going to be on a revenge tour against everybody up until the point that he gets him, and I'm confident he's going to win that matchup this time around. Now moving on, shouts out to Skylar Nelson for uploading this quick clip of Mike Sainristil, and I feel like we can't forget about him, because everything that I've heard so far, he's been having a really good off season from voluntary OTAs through mandatory minicamp and so far through training camps as well. He's been having a great off season from everything I've heard, and I've already told y'all, him going from outside corner last year playing really well, now going into the slot where he has a higher potential, he has a higher ceiling, that's his more natural position. He's going to be insane in the slot. I think he has the potential to be an all-pro slot corner. I really do, as early as this year. And so Dula, who was at the practice, even talked about how Sainristil had a couple of nice pass breakups. He said the slot spot is going to be really nice for him, basically insinuating that, yeah, he was good last year, really good last year, one of the best rookie DBs in the entire NFL. And then now he just moved to the slot, he's going to be even better. And then also moving on, you had a situation where it was good coverage by the defense during some 7-on-7s with Marcus Mariota in at quarterback, and Mariota was forced to scramble on back-to-back reps. So it sounds like this secondary has some serious depth to it, which takes me to the point that Noah Benogany at some point had a really good pass breakup against Michael Strahan, where it should have been a touchdown pass that was in his hands, but Noah Benogany did a great job of breaking it up. I want to remind y'all that Jonathan Jones was a starting corner on the Patriots last year. Noah Benogany was our starting slot corner last year on this team. Both of them are backups, not starters on this team. So you have startable backups in the cornerback room, the offensive line room, and the defensive line room. And then maybe we can look at other position groups as well. But I know for a fact those three position groups are arguably one of the deepest in the entire NFL. And then moving on to the safeties. Shouts out to Scott Abraham for uploading this clip of Will Harris. And he said, yeah, there's no more Jeremy Chin. So who's going to step up as that other commander safety opposite of Quan Martin, basically? He said Will Harris will get the first shot. And I've been hearing good things about Will Harris these first couple of days. And I also want to mention that John Com said on his podcast that they are trying my boy that I tried to put everybody onto, the athletic freak, the alien himself, the perfect 10 relative athletic score, Tyler Owens. They're trying him everywhere so far early in training camps. He was with the first team defense at safety covering Deebo Samuel on that perfect Jaden Daniels dot, where Tyler Owens had really good coverage. Great offense just beats great defense, but they're also throwing him in at linebacker with the backups. He's played some star, aka what y'all probably call Buffalo nickel. Like, all of that elite and rare athleticism has to be useful somewhere, and I love the fact that Joey Jr. and Dan Quinn are trying to get to the bottom of it. They're like, this guy's too freaky of an athlete for us not to find something for him to do outside of special teams, because again, as a rookie, he was requiring double teams. Like, you have all-pro Jeremy Reeves out there, Nick Ballore, who led our team in special team tackles last year, and they chose the double team Tyler Owens, the rookie. So elite special team already. If he can get some of that to translate to the defensive back room on defense, it could be insane. Now, speaking of special teams, I just have a couple of clips of Chesway doing his thing at punter, just practicing. So if you want to see this, the first clip is 18 seconds. The next one is another 18 seconds. So it's 36 seconds of Chesway just working on his punts. If you want to skip that, go ahead. And then I have a couple of notes from other people before we go. Skylar Nelson did her quick takeaways from day 2 of Commanders training camp. She said wide receiver Ja'Cory Brooks is turning heads in the best way. We've already talked about that. I agree. She also said cornerback Mike Sanderson is pretty solid in the slot. I think that's a humble praise, right? I think he's way more than solid, but I can't wait. But the fact that she pointed him out of everybody sounds like he's having a really good camp. Also, she said Jaden Daniels and wide receiver Chris Moore connection is growing strong. I mean, all throughout this offseason, mandatory mini camps and early in training camps, Jaden Daniels just somehow finds a way to throw touchdowns to Chris Moore. Maybe there's something there to where he has an actual shot of making the final 53-man roster, being that last receiver that makes the team. And then lastly, she said tight end Tyree Jackson had a good day. He leaps so far high for a catch near the sideline. So watch out. Tyree Jackson standing out to a couple of people. Be on the lookout. And then Mark Tyler brought up a good point. He said some players that I'd love to hear some updates on sometimes this week and what group they're running with as far as starters, backups, and everything. Have they made any standout plays, etc.? Ben Sinnott, Michael Gallup, Jordan McGee, Dominique Hampton, Tyler Owens, John Baptiste, Fentrell Cypress, and Carlin Vickers. I agree. I would love more updates on all of these people. If I had to rank them as far as the people that I'm most interested in, not necessarily who's most important to the success of the team, Tyler Owens number 1, because that's my guy. That's the guy that I tried to put everybody on to before we even picked him up as an undrafted free agent. Next up is easily Jordan McGee. Because, I mean, honestly, out of this entire list of people I just read to you, he's going to be on the field the most and have the largest impact. Then right after that, I have Ben Sinnott. And then kind of everybody else is kind of jumbled up. Like, I like Michael Gallup's potential. I mean, he had a 1,000-yard receiving season back in 2019. We'll still see if he has any talent. Dominique Hampton, I mean, he's a special specimen where, like, nobody that big should be able to move that well. If he can learn the nuances of the game, that's another one of those guys that he could be a tight end eraser if he figures everything out. Transitioning from free safety to linebacker. John Baptiste showed flashes at edge, and then Carlin Vickers and Fentrell Cypress are 2 really talented corners that other teams wanted as undrafted free agents, and they chose to come to us. We ended up outbidding other teams for their services, so there's a chance they may go out there, develop and improve, and maybe make enough of an impact to possibly make this roster. We'll see. So all of those guys are intriguing. But again, Tyler Owens, Jordan McGee, and Ben Sinnott will be my top 3 as the most intriguing out of that list that Mark Tyler provided us. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know about everything discussed video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure you stay tuned. I know this video is coming out late, but I said I would break down day 2 of training camp, so I did it. If y'all made it this far in the video, especially with it being an hour long, man, salute to you. That is really appreciated. That is love right there. Can't wait to see y'all. Of course, let me know in the comment section how you feel about everything discussed in the video. Let me know if you agree or disagree any of my points. Let me know how you feel about all of the players that are standing out, that are looking good, that are looking bad. Let me know any thoughts that you have after 2 days of training camp practices. Really appreciate y'all. Leave a like on the way out. I'm gonna catch y'all later. I'm out.